It's very important not to forget about like the mid and upper funnel.
Yeah.
Because you also want to make sure that customers start to consider your products or consider your brand when they're looking for a certain solution.
What is a good upper funnel strategy?
If you look for like reach and opportunity also to find new customers, prospects, YouTube for sure is the number one.
What does it mean to have a cookieless future?
It's important to find a distribution model that's a good representation of your business.
Yeah.
What's a good reflection of what is the typical journey you see? Because then also you can make sure that if you optimize based on that model, you are likely to get good return.
Welcome back to the EGN Podcast, brought to you by the E-commerce Berlin Expo. As always, I'm your host, Efe von Thenen, and today we're going to cover the topic of data-driven marketing and online advertising with someone who knows it inside out. Joining us today is Marc Feiertag, Chief Revenue Officer at Smarketer, one of the leading Google Ads agencies in the DACH region. Today, Marc is here to talk about a major focus for Smarketer: online advertising personalization through efficient tracking. In other words, how do you use data, especially from the first phase of a customer's journey, to create ads that resonate, all the while navigating the new privacy laws and cookie regulations that impact tracking? Marc will also share insights into why upper funnel strategies like YouTube ads can be game changers for businesses. Last but not least, Marc will share some insider tips on how advanced tracking tools can help you recover data that is often lost due to new ad blockers or privacy settings. It's a really exciting topic for any brand looking into optimizing their ad spend. So let's get right into it. Marc, welcome to the show, and very nice to have you here today. And especially because Smarketer, the company you represent as the CRO, is a very loyal exhibitor of our expo. As a matter of fact, since the first edition, you've been with us. So very grateful for that, and also very curious about the insights that you brought with you today. But before we go into those things, I'm curious about getting to know you a little bit better.
I'm glad to hear that we're a loyal customer. We also are keen on producing loyal customers, being a good agency for our customers to have long-lasting relationships. And we have a lot of very long-lasting relationships. So fully understand that, and thanks for the credit.
Yeah. So how's I know that you worked for very important companies in our bubble: eBay, Google, Zalando. Maybe tell me a little bit about your journey that brought you to Smarketer at the end of the day.
Sure, happy to do so. So my first job several years back, of course, was working in a direct marketing company. And even at that time, I learned that it's very important to understand what did your customer purchase, what content got them engaged, in a way that you can inform your next best marketing actions.
Yeah.
At that time, it was still like sending catalogs, printed catalogs to customers and deciding who might receive another printed catalog to engage them. So different investments, different
Which year
lead
was
times.
this roughly?
Well,
all right, that's not to be
disclosed. It was
disclosed.
before the millennium change. So
okay.
At that time, that tells you that I'm in this industry of direct marketing for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And even then, it was very important to understand really what are the data points, what are the signals, how can you build on that to make sure that you're not missing opportunities, but that you're also not driving your customers getting fed of you, that they drop out. So finding the right angle over there, having meaningful marketing investments to engage customers and not overfeed them was important.
Yeah.
Anytime since then. So like all stations after that was pretty much building customer journeys, understanding customers, building segments, thinking how to differentiate the treatment in marketing service to deliver the right value for customers, to support like the business they are in.
Yeah.
And that from different angles. So at eBay, my focus was on the buyer side in the marketplace. So understanding what is a top buyer. Because if you don't have buyers, then sellers don't have the audience to sell to. So it was an relevant problem. And I worked with my team on defining that, finding out what's good marketing proposition over there, what do they cater for, what are special services, even if like they don't have great seller experiences, how to remain the trust. So that was like one angle of, okay, keeping consumers in the right balance on a marketplace.
Yeah.
And after that, I switched to Google. Different challenge. So it was more about like winning customers, winning small and medium-sized businesses in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And at that time, it was still like a topic to convince them that there is business opportunity in search engine advertising, so in digital marketing. So a lot of small companies, they didn't care too much about that yet.
Yeah.
They've been more like based on like offline. They had a store. They knew, okay, how to get like people into their store with like more conventional media.
Yeah.
So it was more explaining what is Google Ads, how does it work, why to spend money on digital marketing. And today I would say nobody will argue, even of smaller companies, that there's value in that. They all understood it. They saw it over COVID that it's good to have more channels, and it's also driving customers not just to online stores but also offline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had Zalando as the next station, I guess.
Well, after Google, indeed, I worked with Emasis. So Emasis is like, at that time, it was the largest independent marketing platform company, now purchased by SAP. But at that time, it was really independent, looking for marketing automation solution in a SaaS business model.
Yeah.
And over there, I was in charge of leading the commercial teams, making sure that we build specialized teams, delivering good service over there, so that the customers got most out of the SaaS solution.
Yeah.
So,
shout out to Lucas from SAP Emasis that was with us a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Mention it. So hello to Lucas again. So it was a great time over there. It was also a journey to like prepare by specializing teams in delivering the right relevant services across the different touch points.
Yeah.
And also then scaling that within like the DACH region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And let's move on to Smarketer and your role as CRO. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do there?
So as Chief Revenue Officer, I'm in charge of winning, growing, and retaining our customers.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's everything around that. And I would say it's pretty much about giving the right direction to the teams, trying to be a good business leader over there, but also making sure that we still have relevant offers over there and working with other teams within the company to monitor the market and adjust to challenges in the market.
Yeah.
And making sure that we retain like a good partner for all of our customers.
Yeah. And Smarketer has typically very interesting insights for everyone out there. And as far as I know, you guys are the leading agency for Google Ads and Bing Ads also in the DACH region. I think you have around 200 employees and 3 locations.
That's right. So we are one of the leading Google advertising partners, premium partners in the DACH region.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, so it was the core. We evolved as like the specialized SEA agency. And over the past 12 years, we really got deep expertise into that.
Yeah.
We have now more than 150 people just catering to like customers, working with customers, being their SEA experts.
Yeah.
And of course, we have some supporting teams. So it's right, we have more than 250 right now. And we also evolved as a company from like being SEA focused now to also covering social media and Amazon channel. Yeah. So now we are a group of specialized agencies.
And maybe you can also describe what the typical customer of Smarketer is, like the ICP, the ideal customer profile. Who do you cater to?
So we have primarily small and medium-sized businesses in almost all verticals. So only limitations are those that are prevented from bringing ads live on Google or Microsoft networks. So that's pretty much the limitation over there. So with over 1,000 customers in, as mentioned, a lot of different branches. Of course, a lot of e-commerce and retail customers. And not just the small players. So that's like our heritage pretty much. We still see a lot growing from small, and over time we can evolve them and grow their business. That's our corporate DNA. We also have big players like Birkenstock or Walbusch. So we also have big brands that, of course, go like deeper in what they expect, what we deliver over there. But we also can cater for that across all the markets.
I recently had the chance to, in one of the presentations that I held, I presented the revenue growth of Birkenstock. It's pretty impressive, actually, how they expanded and how they moved their company from being like a hippie sandal company to a mainstream a producer of shoes and sandals. So I think that's a super inspiring story. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you worked with them. Just like let's take this example and how you help them throughout this growth journey.
So it's important for a customer like Birkenstock to also understand the international setup, different markets, but also being close to like what are cultural differences. So what to recognize, what kind of creative storytelling can you use in different environments and settings. So that's something why we also have like a large international team. So we can cover more than 10 European languages with like native speakers. Just to make sure it's not just a translation, but really somebody who understands the culture of the market and can then inform customers or make sure that we are not hurting feelings and push the right buttons, not the wrong buttons. So that's something that's very helpful. That was also important with Birkenstock to get that right and having that expertise on board.
Super interesting. And having you sitting in front of me, I can't help but ask you, since I have the chance to interview several different types of business experts here, there are different opinions about which segment is winning, which segment has more opportunity, which segment is like kind of having struggles. We recently discussed home and living. Their market share is like kind of shrinking because it's getting more competitive. Maybe the consumer demand has a certain impact, which has an impact on the rates. And grocery as a segment is booming is expected to boom in the next few years, growing by around 14%, getting the share 14.5%. How was the year 2024 from your perspective in terms of digital advertising? What were the challenges? What were the opportunities? Curious to hear it from you.
So as mentioned, we cover a lot of verticals. So we are not really too much bound to just like development in one vertical. Fortunately, that's also one of the nice facts that we can balance it out. Right now it's peak season, November, of course, in retail. We all know that, especially this week. So we are fortunate that we can like balance if one area is a bit slower with like other industries that might just pick up in that time. So that's good that we also can shift a bit like capacity, how to support over there and balance it out. But what we noticed this year, it was a tough year. So we know that consumer sentiment is still low. Companies are way more looking after profitability. Like the expectations we also heard from our customers on, okay, let's make sure we work this year more on efficiency, less on adding reach. That was very strong. So we noticed that, and of course we adjust to that direction, making sure that let's optimize for ROAS. But we also know if we don't invest in finding like new audiences, adding to a customer base fresh customers over time, it will be harder for business to retain the growth momentum.
Not very sustainable.
That's the point. So that's something we noticed. We still feel that consumer sentiment is not fully back. We see like fast development outside of Germany, of course, but we are pretty much focused on the DACH region. So of course we we grow, but also suffer with the economic development in our region.
True.
But of course, we also advise our customers, look for growth opportunities outside of Germany.
Yeah.
So there's better sentiment, there's higher consumer invest. Let's try to grow the business outside. And we saw some customers that picked it up, like Poster XXL was one of the customers that really grew very fast by following that strategy and not just relying on the home market, but also pick like other European markets. And
could you elaborate which markets were relevant for them?
So if I recall it right, especially Spain was growing very fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's something what we saw. And it was a development over the past 2-3 years, not just this year. But we looked this year into like their growth story and also have been amazed how fast they scaled up. Yeah. Especially demonstrating, okay, you don't need to rely on just one market. Yeah. Let's make sure that you put your bets in different places to also maintain this balance. If one market is slower, then of course others might be faster. So maybe shifting some budget into that markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that everywhere. And we had Friedrich Schwand, who's the founder of Statista and also the CEO of ECDB. He was at the podcast. Lucas from SAP Marcis also mentioned there's this huge focus on profitability, and it has it brings with itself also some long-term implication, right? That you also pointed out. And I also observe a certain tendency to internationalize among many brands right now. I mean, this has been going on for a couple of years, as you said, because when one market is slowing down, we've seen this since 2022 in Germany, and we are still in the slow recovery, as you pointed out, but other markets are much more dynamic within Europe. And that's very interesting to me. And then we have, within this year, we also had the switch to GA4, Google Analytics 4, from moving from the universal version of Google Analytics. What is your observation of, you're obviously working with that on a daily basis, and what was the impact that had created?
Well, it was not just GA4. So we saw this European Digital Markets Act coming into play in May. And I would say rather shortly before that, half year before that, they also got an increase in requirements from Google, especially, also saying, okay, look, now we need to make sure that we also comply with like what is set as consumer rights. It's more demanding on making sure that we know there is consent to work with the data. Customers opted in, being very strict on how to demonstrate that, how to bring the proof, and delivering that also to Google, because they also don't want to risk that, because they want to comply with what's required by like EU right over here. And GA4 was one thing we started to have like last year. So a lot of like implementations, making sure that we upgrade. But then consent mode 2 also came. And somebody not familiar to that will, okay, what's consent mode 2? So it's like this increased bar where you have to demonstrate how you win data to prove that, so that you are allowed to use, for example, a remarketing list. And we saw customers not being really fast on that track, not just jumping on like the offer we also had, and they lost 25% of revenues.
Wow.
Because if a remarketing list are like a key part of your business, how you generate business, and it will stop from one day to the other, that really hurts. So we helped our customers right at the start of this year in adapting to that change, being prepared, adapting to like the new consent mode requirements. And we also have a very large dedicated IT tracking team. So they implement 4,000 to 5,000 tracking codes every year. And that's something I would say also something you won't find at a lot of agencies. I would even say we might have the largest team over there, because we know that there will be these requirements. And that's also something we saw over the past years. So go back like the Datenschutzverordnung, the GDPR. We saw a couple of years back. That was like a first step. Now DMA is the next step. And I would not be surprised if there will be like more regulations to make sure that how we handle data, how we use it, will be compliant with what consumers are willing to accept to retain their trust. There might be more to come.
Yeah.
And we need to adapt to the challenges of that.
Absolutely. And then something that almost everyone in e-commerce has been discussing is the cookieless future, right? So there's also that. I mean, it got postponed a couple of times. So maybe you can tell us, for the average Joe that is not very specialized in this, what's the difference? Let's start with the first-party and third-party cookies. What's the difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies? And what does it mean to have a cookieless future?
So what are cookies used for?
Yeah.
Cookies are pretty much something that help you to know that a customer, a website visitor interacted with your content.
Yeah.
Even if you send out emails, there's a tracking pixel. On the website, you have a tracking pixel. So you know who engaged with your content. And that was always used to personalize the interaction. Because if you know, okay, that was something interesting, maybe I show a bit more of this kind of content to engage with the customer and to nurture an interest down to like a conversion. And third-party cookies are cookies where you save this kind of interaction at the browser level. So you can use it to also follow users across a journey, across different websites. You see what they interacted with. And that can inform also what might be good content I should show in what place the next time. And first-party cookies are like same information, but not saved at the browser level, but on a corporate server level.
Yeah.
So that's like more where a company collects like the insights on their domain. And that's something that will stay over there. Yeah. So the discussion right now is about, okay, to outphase third-party cookies, what will take away a lot of data points, of course, because if you know the full journey, it's easy, okay, to add like what's the next nice step to keep the customer interest and lead them to your store, to your checkout, of course. So if you don't have that, there's a limitation. Yeah. So it's more about being more smart to use like first-party cookies and retain this visibility. And that's like a big challenge I see right now in the market.
Yeah. And we will get to solutions. And I know for a fact that you also help your clients with solutions such as server-side tracking that you pointed out. Let's get to that in a bit. But I'm curious about, first and foremost, we've talked about some of the challenges that we've seen in this year, but also there's like when we are talking about data loss, there's not only the regulation part or someone declining cookies, but also ad blockers and other tools that might prevent you from obtaining this information. What's your opinion on that? What kind of impact? Does it have a huge impact on advertisers according to your perspective? How do you see that?
It has, and it can have really a huge impact.
Yeah.
So do you know the number of like ad blockers? How many customers are really using ad blockers?
I think a lot of them. I myself use it in my private browser because at work I like to consume ads so I can learn from them, but sometimes I don't want to.
Yeah, and actually it's like 32% use ad blockers. So first time I saw the number, I thought, oh, that's a high number. Yeah. Then if they come to your website and you ask for their consent, how many might say, no, please don't save my data. I don't want to do that. It's 30 to 40% who also say, okay, I'm not interested in that. So you also can lose a lot over there. And if you add up all that, you can lose a meaningful number of data points. So in theory, up to 90%, if like all the blockers, all the ways you have along the way, and also taking out like third-party cookies as like the third instance, it's a lot of data loss you can have. In average, we saw that around 30% is what businesses will lose.
Wow. And we've talked about the kind of difficult part of advertising. Let's move on to the opportunities and maybe areas where people could shift the focus. And I know that you do have some, we did talk about in the past about some opportunities in the upper funnel, but as always, I'd like to ask you, before we move into the discussion of funnel, upper funnel, mid, lower funnel, maybe you can describe what these categories mean, and for the average Joe, what's a typical funnel strategy?
So this funnel is more like a visual representation. So you have something like, there might be a wide starting point, not really sure what product to purchase. So it's more, you might see a billboard advertising where you're like, okay, that's a really nice looking smartphone.
Yeah.
Or you read an article, or your friends are talking about a certain release on a mobile phone. That's really the starting point where you try to get awareness. That's really the upper funnel.
Yeah.
So when you then say, okay, that could be interesting, let me look up what is the experience around that, what are the features. So looking into, for example, in-depth research, test reviews you find on YouTube.
Yeah.
That is mid-funnel. So that's already consideration. So try to get in the product that will be considered for a purchase.
Yeah.
And when it's really down to, okay, I have the best offer for this one particular smartphone, so getting close to the deal, to the finish line, that's really the performance marketing part, the lower funnel. And usually that's really where we also started, because that's very easy attribution. Okay, if you have the right offer, you get the deal over there. But it's very important not to forget about like the mid and upper funnel.
Yeah.
Because you also want to make sure that customers start to consider your products or consider your brand when they're looking for a certain solution.
Yeah. And you also mentioned attribution. There are also several different types of attribution models, mixed and the last step. So maybe you can also say a few words about that.
So attribution is especially important if you like to optimize across channels.
Yeah.
If you just optimize within one channel, it's kind of easy. You have your return of advertising spend, you can optimize for that. But if you try to balance like different media channels, and usually that's a reality, you have different media channels, it's important how to attribute a journey a customer might have had. So the traditional one is like, okay, maybe last click attribution. Or you distribute a fair share to like the last one, what was before that, or where might be a starting point. So there are different models.
Yeah.
Usually also named by the shape of, what part of the funnel you are taking. And it's important to find a attribution model that's a good representation of your business.
Yeah.
What's a good reflection of what is the typical journey you see. Because then also you can make sure that if you optimize based on that model, you are likely to get good return with the next marketing investments.
That's excellent. This is turning into a masterclass, but I really like it. So let's start talking about the upper funnel. In upper funnel advertising, so what areas do you see promising? The most meaningful approach for brands right now. So is it YouTube? Is it elsewhere? So maybe you can tell us, based on your operational day-to-day encounters, what is a good upper funnel strategy?
So if you look for like reach and opportunity also to find new customers, prospects, YouTube for sure is a number one, because it's like largest reach after Google over there. You have all kind of different channels you can follow, you can consume. You have like even tiny interest segments. So if you like to map what you can offer, you find like your kind of community. It's easy over there, and people spend a lot of time over there. So I just saw a study that YouTube is consumed more than like traditional channels by far. So people spend already a lot of time. So spend more than on traditional TV channels or even like other entertaining streaming services.
Yeah, it's interesting because one would assume because of the rise of short form content platforms such as Reels on Instagram or TikTok, etc. I mean, YouTube also has a short form content, YouTube Shorts, but it's steady since the acquisition from Google. I think this was 2006. So it's turned out to be very steady channel for revenue for Google as well.
Yeah. Especially if you like to drive consideration or awareness.
Yeah,
it's a good channel because it starts with your intent, your interest as consumer. You start over there. You look maybe for, okay, what's the next country I want to visit? So I start to browse around. I want to spend some time in Sweden. What do I find over there? What do other people tell?
Yeah,
and they might have some recommendations. So then you can follow up, go deeper into that, and you find a lot of content on YouTube over there.
Yeah.
And if you bring your ads in that context, okay, I have something to offer. Maybe if they plan to go as a caravan, I offer my caravan placement.
Yeah.
Book your camper for Sweden and get great tips. So if you get in that environment, you can grasp or place your brand, and people might pick it up, follow down, and then find your checkout and do business with your company.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 10 years ago, we had so much more interruption marketing. And nowadays, you see like almost hyper personalization. So maybe you can give us also some examples of how personalization can help companies to, at the end, increase boost ROAS, boost conversions, and what are some of the best practices there?
So as mentioned, there are more and more media channels, and consumers spend more time. They split their time across more places. So it also means that the attention span on like one placement or even on something they see is getting shorter. So 10 years back, you used to have a bit more time.
Yeah,
I would even say seconds to bring your message over. Right now, if you think on the reel format, it's just a few seconds for the full format. So if you don't bring over your point in like the first 2 seconds, you might be swapped away.
It's funny because like the millennial pause is a conversion killer there, I guess. It's also a nice challenge for all creatives and marketers. So you need to be able to trigger the right points in the very first part of a reel to make sure, okay, they stay until the end. You might not have the full 25 seconds, like a TV spot. You need to carry over your point, explain, okay, what's your brand, what do you stand for, to make sure next time they might remember, and then they might go into a format where you have the full 20 seconds or even more. So personalizing to like what the channel can deliver, that's very important. Yeah.
But it's not just about what's the place. It's always about like how creative is your message.
Yeah.
So we can help with like finding the right places and optimizing around that. But our customers also need to deliver the right creativity. So if you have like a very boring ad, it will not convert as well if you have a smart story, a good image,
good
catchy
hook.
Keywords.
Yeah.
So if that's better, of course, it's not about the placement. It's a combination of where you try to bring over your point, but also in what way. How appealing is it to the consumer?
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. I once attended one masterclass a couple of years ago where, I mean, A/B testing is very important in terms of just if you have two different creatives, you might have a certain opinion, like a gut feeling, which will perform better. And they did an experiment in this one masterclass where I was. They showed 2 creatives, and everyone raised their hand. Like they asked the audience, "Hey, which one do you think will perform better?" And everyone opted for creative A in that room. But apparently, for the target group of this brand, it was 100% B. Like it was just hitting the spot for them. Obviously, we were the wrong target group. Like having the right creative, testing it with the target group, because at the end of the day, they will be the ones that click the buy button. So completely agree with you. So we talked about the challenges. We talked about some upper funnel possibilities. So let's go back to server side, and let's go back to tracking. So you mentioned tracking is getting a little bit difficult when you look at the regulations, when you look at the there are all kinds of factors we talked about. But is there light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, like, what are some smart ways that brands and e-commerce companies can utilize for better tracking?
Yeah. So I guess it's key that you make sure you keep control of your data.
Yeah.
So that you consider what are limitations, what might be future limitations. Like Google also said they want to phase out third-party tracking next year. So they pushed it out by a year, fortunately. But still there's a demand, what are alternative solutions? And something we built, because we also saw it coming, is like server-side tracking.
Yeah.
So we have a solution, Metric server-side tracking, that enables us in a compliant way to bypass ad blockers. Also like the consent, because we use a technology to identify devices, so we know what is the device we can send the ad to, on which there was the reaction. We can attribute that. And we don't need to save like personal data, where you need like another level of like consent. So we never save like email or name, like all that what's not allowed.
Yeah.
But we still can make sure that we serve the ad to the right device at the end.
Yeah.
And by using enough attributes that is describing a device, you also have like 99% likelihood and probability to track and tailor your message to the right audience again.
Yeah.
So with that, you can maintain control and gain back lost data, because like if you think of all the ad blockers, so we are bypassing like the settings of ad blockers that are usually on the browser level, or like these special ad blocker apps over there.
Yeah.
So we can bypass that, because it's also saved on our own servers. So it's using first-party cookies over there, and combining that with server-side tracking. So we're bringing both benefits into one product.
Yeah. Could you give us some real-life examples from one of your clients that is utilizing this, and what kind of impact that they have switching to this solution?
Yeah. So we measure the impact across a wider sample of customers. Of course, when it was new, we want to see, okay, what is the real benefit?
Yeah.
And first thing we can see, a lot of customers already lost some data due to like the mentioned points, and giving back this visibility brought like the first 30% uplift in performance.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, if you drive on the highway and there's fog, it slows you down. You can't really see where's the road going. So first we move a base of fog, so you see the direction, and if you see where you're going, then you are willing to speed up.
Yeah.
So that was the second impact. We saw another 30% just by increasing and better marketing investment, so they could invest more with the confidence of getting a good return.
Yeah.
So we saw then an uplift before starting with that to really applying it to the full extent of up to 60%.
Yeah. And I would assume that you're not the only one offering these services. So what really sets you apart as Smarketer from the competition?
So, of course, there are also other server-side tracking solutions.
Yeah.
But usually they start at a higher price point. And as mentioned, we also target like small and medium-sized companies.
Yeah.
And we have also for smaller companies an affordable price.
Yeah.
So you can start to use like this solution. We can scale the solution across our customer base, and it then depends on, okay, how large is your business, and then of course we have a price schedule correlated to that.
I think for many smaller players, the difficulty is really managing so many channels And I think many of them wish there could be some magical tool where you can do your social ads, where you can do pay-per-click and everything in one place. It's what's your take on that? Is there such a thing, or is it just an impossible idea?
I would say it's not an impossible idea. So the idea is there for, I would say, some time.
Yeah.
But now technology is getting closer to that.
Yeah.
So what we see right now, also with like arithmetic server-side tracking, you can measure like the full journey over there. So you don't need to use models and attribution, because you just measure what you really see as a conversion over there. So that gives you more confidence in data. And it's also like across the different platforms you're using. So not just for Google, but you can also apply that, for example, for Meta.
Yeah.
So if you like to have Facebook, TikTok data as well, you can measure it from the same source and then make investment decisions. So right now we don't have an automated solution for that. I'm sure Google is working on that, of course, with AI. It's about making omni-channel marketing decisions, but we also see that it might be one of the next iterations. Trying to come up with suggestions. So based on what we saw on performance across the different touch points, where to increase or decrease, then also budgets. Because we also can already automate shopping feeds. So we get product feeds from our customers. We use that. We use Rev Metrics and we enrich that. So we optimize in an automated way how like this item will be shown in shopping ads. So having better titles, making sure it's more catchy with the audience, and that without any expert touching it. It's like based on AI technology, and it's driving up really conversion of this feeds.
Marc, we talked quite a lot about smaller players also being catered to. You said you're helping them out as well. Let's call SMB, like small and medium-sized enterprises. Do you have some tips for them in the current time of recording? What maybe 3 tips coming from a seasoned expert like yourself?
So I would say the first step is know your data and keep control of your data. So know what you can expect from data flows, what are the limitations, what might be modeled, and what is real data. Of course, use models where you don't have real data, but know what are limitations over there. So there might be some hallucination like in AI as well. So be aware of what's possible, because you want to make informed marketing decisions. And you don't need to have guessing. You can base it on data these days. So you don't need to, and that's saying from like Henry Ford, I waste 50% of my marketing spending, but I don't know which 50%. So that was a time of guessing, of course, for a long time. Right now, you don't need to guess. You can model it, you can build it on real data, so you can keep control. I guess the second point, very important, is know what you want to reach. So be clear on your targets. Is it more like steer on efficiency, getting the right ROAS over there? Or is it, I want to grow, I want to have more reach? That comes usually also at a higher price. But if you don't invest into that, you might not win your audiences. So there's always a trade-off. Be sure what you like to reach. Tell your agency, tell your team, because then it's more likely that they deliver exactly on that. And I guess the third advice I would give is be open for testing new stuff. So be open for new channels. There are more channels. What about this search and social co-play? How to combine channels? Testing it, optimizing, look into data, but really be open, fresh-minded. Like your example, if you ask like a marketing audience how they like a campaign, if they are not particular in their target group, they might dislike it. But the right audience might love it.
Exactly.
So don't assume that you can have an informed opinion on every ad, make sure you ask your target audience.
Absolutely. That's perfectly formulated. I have one more question. We are currently in this time where change feels like it's every day you're bombarded with like lots of innovation. 2 years ago, we are approaching Christmas time. So 2 years ago, I spent most of my Christmas experimenting with ChatGPT for the first time. And since then, we see embedded GPT applications, Gen AI taking off. So we have hyper personalization, we have a metaverse, we have VR goggles and all kinds of things, Meta Ray-Ban. I mean, so much is happening, right? You, from your perspective, working at Smarketer, working with online advertising, where do you see us in 5 years?
And I really hear you. So same experience 2 years back. I was also flashed by the new means. But now looking back, just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of change and there is a lot of disruption as well. So, and I guess to be fair, we all test our way into that, right? So we find out how can I use it to work more efficient? What might be easier way to get better creatives, better images? And we also, of course, test that. So we found a solution for like product feeds as mentioned. That was one part, but considering how to apply that to also like images or maybe videos at some point is something that's possible. We just need to get our head around, okay, what might be a smart solution that we can package in a product to use that. We also set up our own Smarketer GPT. So we also want to make sure that like in a safe environment, we can work with customer data to advise our customers, to help them leveraging the Gen AI over there, but also like building bots. So how can we drive marketing automation to the next level? I guess there are lots of opportunities, but you need to have a use case. It's about what's relevant for you, how to use tools, testing tools over there, and that's we're in the middle of this journey. But of course, we know that we really build deep SEA expertise, and we know that at some point there might be some automation also around that. But I don't trust that I will be able to, I get this corporate strategy and can formulate that into marketing strategy. I guess we still need to have like smart people translating that. So the repetitive task, I guess they will decrease like in like daily business. But really thinking strategically how to apply that, how to consider also the co-play across different channels, that will be something going forward. Where like the marketing manager also has like more to play. It will be more diverse, but also more interesting because you will sneak into like new means. So that's something where I also say, you need to keep on learning. Continuous learning is something that I feel over the past 20 years was essential. It keeps essential, so do that. And then trial and error. So go there, iterate, and find your way.
Marc, I think there couldn't be a better way to end the conversation with these nice tips from you. Also looking into the future, we talked about what's possible today. What are the challenges today? On the one hand, there are challenges, of course, that come with regulation and that come with cookie changes and all this stuff. But on the other hand, there's always a bright outlook to the future if you know the right tools, the right partners. That being said, I would like to encourage everyone, if they have any question about online digital advertising in the DACH region, to reach out to you, and that we will leave your contact details in the show notes, to reach out to you on LinkedIn. But also, I would also encourage everyone to check out Smarketer on the website. There's plenty of insights that everyone can access and get curious about it. And also check out the solutions that you provide, that you mentioned, such as server tracking and so much more. Thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate your time, and we'll see us at the expo.
thanks a lot, and would be happy to help other customers to grow. So with my team. So happy to hear, answer questions, and see you at Expo.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the EGN Podcast. If you found our discussion insightful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your support helps us grow and improve our content. See you next time.